Hello everybody! Today we're going to unbox, take a close-up look and test the BLACK+DECKER Dustbuster Pivot Hand Vacuum. So let's first take a look around the outside of the box. So this is the BLACK+DECKER Dustbuster Pivot. It is a cordless handheld vacuum cleaner, and this is the highest spec model from the Dustbuster Pivot range of handheld vacuum cleaners. So it has 18 volts as well as 35 air watts of suction power. And here are some of the technical specifications of this Dustbuster Pivot hand vacuum. And now let's go ahead and open up the box by pulling out the tab and flipping open the box flap and just showing you the inside product literature and care instructions of the BLACK+DECKER Dustbuster Pivot hand vacuum. And just giving you a top-down look inside the box. Let's go ahead and remove the contents. And setting them down on the tabletop. So there is what appears to be a charging dock. Just making sure that there's nothing attached to the box or card packaging, and just looking down and inside the box you can see the BLACK+DECKER Dustbuster Pivot hand vacuum. And just lifting and setting it on the tabletop and removing the rest of the contents from the box packaging. And now that's done, I'm just going to set that user manual or instruction manual to the side as well, and just closing back the box. So it does come with a 2-year guarantee. So I'm going to set that box on the right hand side of the frame, right there, as I continue with the arrangement of the contents with just removed from the box packaging. So just making sure everything is laid out neatly for your viewing pleasure. It's right there. So that's the contents removed from the BLACK+DECKER Dustbuster Pivot hand vacuum box packaging. So let's start off by taking a look at this operating instruction manual. So giving you a front and back look and just showing you just how thick it is, so relatively thin. And now let's flip it open for reference purposes. So nice to see. It's very uncommon to see large text in user manuals or instruction manuals or operating guides these days, but this one is nice and bold and large, so no need to bring it close up to the camcorder. So giving you a nice good look at the details and specifications, and for some odd reason this is upside down on this page. And let's continue flipping through. It's right there, features, wash, some diagrams, and so on and so forth for your reference purposes. So it does have a 4-hour charge time. And let's set that down, and a 30-second power out indicator as well. So I'm going to show you this packet here. So there is a packet of plugs and flathead screws. I believe that would be for mounting the dock should you need or want to mount it on a wall. So this is the dock. Let's remove it, or remove the clear plastic wrapper from it, and of course disposing or recycling that clear plastic wrapper very carefully and keeping it away from babies and toddlers. I'm just going to show you the plug. So it is a UK or British 3-pin plug, and the dock right there, the charging dock. So as I mentioned, it does have an eco 4-hour charge to charge the BLACK+DECKER Dustbuster pivot hand vacuum. And you can see the length of the cable as well, so rather long. I'm not going to undo this because you can see it is coiled up quite tightly there, and you can see that it does appear to have a good length of cable neatly tied up or packaged right there. And just giving you a look at the specs of the adapter as well. So right there, adapter for the BLACK+DECKER Dustbuster Pivot 18-volt hand vacuum. Okay, so nice good look all around. Just giving you some idea of the size of this unit resting in the palm of my hand right there. It's always important to note the size of these things, especially being handheld. And of course with the charging dock, always wanting to know whereabouts you can sight it and how you go about mounting it. So right there, and at the base as well, that mounting hole right there for a screw to secure against. Okay, so nice good look all around at the charging dock and the adapter as well. So you can see it is a fixed adapter right there. You can't unplug the dock end of the cable. Okay, so that's that. Let's set it down and move on to the main unit itself, which is the BLACK+DECKER Dustbuster Pivot. Just going to put that cable in and just setting it down right there. Okay, and then moving on to the main attraction itself, which is the BLACK+DECKER Dustbuster Pivot hand vacuum. Okay, and remember to dispose of or recycle your packaging in an eco-friendly manner, and just setting those screws and plugs to the side as well. Just making some minor adjustments there. Try to keep everything in view. And right here we have the Dustbuster Pivot. So this is the highest spec model, having 18 volts of power. The lower models have 10.8 and 14.4 volts. So two other models in the range. This is the top spec one, but they all have the same waste capacity. However, suction power, this one has the highest, being an 18 volt model. So this one has 35 air watts of suction power, and interestingly they all produce the same level of noise, being 85 decibels. Right there, giving you some sense of the size of the unit, resting in both hands right there. I'm just going to shift that user manual more to the right hand side so it doesn't interfere too much with the foreground. So right there, giving you a nice good look at this BLACK+DECKER Dustbuster Pivot hand vacuum. Give you an all-round look. So it does have a 200-degree pivoting nozzle, which we'll see in just a second. Now giving a close-up look. Weight-wise, it does have a noticeable weight to it. The specs show it as being just under 1.4 kilograms. Remember, it does have a 440 gram capacity waste bin or dust bin. So altogether, if it's filled up, it's nearly 2 kilos heavy if you do actually max out the waste compartment. But nonetheless, giving you a nice good all-round look to this plastic construction Black & Decker Dustbuster pivot hand vacuum. It does have this swiveling or pivoting nozzle, so just trying to find out how one would go about extending this. So this is rather interesting. It is, of course, in the locked position. And let's just explore things as they are. So pressing on this button right here, you can see that there's a little diagram there. Obviously, I've not read through the operating guide or user instructions. You should always do that before attempting to operate or use any such appliance or electronic device. So let's press on that. That should release the catch there. And there we go. We've just released the catch to pivot that nozzle out, and just giving you a look side view of the nozzle being extended and giving you a look into the nozzle itself. So right there, the Black & Decker Dustbuster pivot hand vacuum. So the weight tends to be around this area, obviously the nozzle being hollow doesn't account for much of the unit's weight. So it does have a nice grip as well, nice and solid over here with this glossy white, and they call it dark titanium, but it's more of a pale silver type of color or effect. And let's press on that release catch again, and you can see that we can swivel the nozzle all the way up. So rather interesting. So 200 degrees of pivoting, and you can hear it lock right there in place. So no problems there when it comes to pumping that nozzle about in hard to reach places. So let's press and to release the nozzle catch, and so there are steps to positioning the nozzle, as you can see, as I turn the nozzle all the way back down into the closed position right there. So nice and compact when fully closed or folded, with the nozzle right up against the body of the unit. So giving you some close-up looks into that dustbin being or having a 440 gram capacity. And it does have a lithium-ion battery, so it does have a steady performance of suction, and with an indicator that flashes when it's down to its last 30 seconds of use before requiring a recharge. Okay, so on the underside of the nozzle there is a button here, as you can see on the left hand side, and not quite sure what that does, but it might release. Obviously it's worth reading the user manual, but we'll figure that out later if we have enough time. Nonetheless, let's explore the other functions or features of this hand vacuum. So you can see we've extended the crevice extension of the nozzle, so the crevice tool will reach into narrower and further away spots. And let's see if we can close it back down by simply squeezing that end right there. So let me extend the nozzle again very quickly, or not actually extend, but release the nozzle right there into a straight position right there. And if we need to extend the crevice tool or crevice extension, simply pull it out as indicated by that depressed arrow there. And if we need to retract it, simply press down on those on the back part there and slide it back in. And you can see on the underside that there is a brush tool, so we should be able to swing that out just like that, and we now have a brush on the nozzle. And if we need to keep that, we should be able to just fold it back down. Nice and simple, and as you can hear that snap there, it is spring loaded. It's nice to see that everything is so well made and well designed. So once again, with that extension, just sliding it out, and if you need to retract it, simply press it down from the rear. Don't push it from the front, because that will let you squeeze and slide the crevice tool or extension back into the nozzle, and you can see what it's like in there. Once again, showing you the bristles of the brush. So rather stiff and solid. Well, not solid, but rather stiff, as you can hear as I run my finger through it. Okay, so right there, just another look of the multitudes of position and functions we can set this Black & Decker Dustbuster pivot. So crevice tool, brush of course, separately used from the crevice tool, and then just a standard nozzle as it is. And just taking a look at the various aspects with the nozzle pivoted out and angling it in the other positions right there. And you can just set it down as well. So nice and balanced, no issues there. I'm just resting it on its own in various positions. So it's nice to see that it does have a good amount of adjustability and locking in place. It does have a little bit of play, as you can see, but nonetheless very, very versatile in terms of adjustability but feels so well made, so solid. It does have a noticeable amount of weight, being just under 1.4 kilos in as it is. And now just taking a look at the rear of the unit as well, just giving you a close-up look to see those contact points and how they would line up in here in the charging dock. So you can see if you have the dock set up and mounted on the flat surface, this would appear. Well, this is how it would appear with the Black & Decker Dustbuster pivot set down and stowed away or being charged. Okay, so let's give you another look at it from another angle. And it is stable enough, but always worth locking it down or mounting it against a steady surface. Okay, so we've had a look at that, and let me just turn that plug or adapter around, setting it down, and just setting the hand vacuum down and just making some adjustments around there, just keeping everything in nice clear view. Okay, so now let's figure out, if we can, what this function is for. So otherwise you might just leave it and figure it out and leave it for yourself to discover. But nonetheless, let's try and open the bin compartment here by simply pulling and opening up that flap and just showing you the inside of it. So right there does have a cylindrical bin or waste container. And right there, nice and thick, so pretty sturdy, as you can see as I squeeze it with my fingers and thumb. It does have a little bit of flex, but nonetheless nice and solid. Okay, so now let's see if we can turn the unit on by, of course, sliding out this protective tab here and setting it down. And let's go ahead and turn it on by sliding that button. So it does produce 85 decibels of noise. And that you can hear is the noise level. And it does blow back at this outlet here. And right there, just a single mode operation with a simple on-off thumb switch right there. Okay, once again giving you a listen to the noise or sound that this Black & Decker Dustbuster hand vacuum makes. And let's see if we can and let's open the dust compartment and turn it on, see what happens. Okay, so there we go. So nice good view and idea of the noise that it makes. And let's quickly test out the suction power. So let's check out the 35 watts of suction power. Let's do that by emptying out some punch paper right there onto the tabletop. And let's give it a try. So let's turn it on. And just showing you the suction power right there. And I think it's just run out of power, or maybe not, because it did turn itself off for some reason. But nonetheless, let's have a look in the bin right here, and you can see that all the papers circles have been collected. And let's dish them out or empty them on the tabletop again. And let's give it another try, but this time around at a different angle. Let's try this 90-degree right angle. Let's turn it on. And you can see, not quite sure why it's doing that, why it's turning itself off, but obviously I think it does have power because the LED status indicator did not flash. Apparently it's supposed to flash when there's 30 seconds of power left to use the hand vacuum. So perhaps I just need a better understanding by reading the user manual more thoroughly, or even reading it at all. So let's... Okay, so there we go. So pressing on that left button there does release and separate the two parts of the vacuum. You can see this part here with the filter and that part there with the motor. So that gives you the ability to clean the unit more thoroughly to ensure its high performance. It's right there, closing it down and sliding it locked. So you can see when I press, I still have to slide it to release it. So it's not just a simple case of pressing and releasing. So there is a catch there. When I press, slide or twist, and off comes the main unit with the motor, and the nozzle and the waste bin is right there. Okay, so once again, just going to show you putting them together and making sure it slides and clips right there. And that's how it's done with the motor cleaning section, or just cleaning out the bin. And right there, once again separating the two parts again. Okay, and nozzle just like that, closing it back down, and should you need to empty that bin again, right there, and just tipping out the contents once again. And doing one last demonstration. And this time around with the crevice tool, just for the fun of it. Let's turn it on. And there we go. That's all the pieces of round paper collected in the waste container of this BLACK+DECKER Dustbuster pivot hand vacuum. And of course, remembering to press down there so that we can slide the nozzle back in, or the extension or crevice extension back in, and setting it down this way. So that's the Black & Decker Dustbuster Pivot Hand Vacuum. Thanks for watching and happy sucking!